Welcome to the Core Women Podcast, the place for women entrepreneurs, authors, and self-starters looking to build community and gain valuable insights through expert interviews with women at the top of their game. Join your host, podcaster, producer, expert coach, entrepreneur, and author, Dr. Summer Watson, as she aims to inspire and empower you through these candid conversations. Lean in and embrace the journey. It's time to start the show. Here's your host, Dr. Summer Watson.
Today on the show, I would like to welcome Cynthia Torres, who is a Latinx, Colombian-American, licensed marriage and family therapist, founder of the for-profit business New Dawn Counseling and Consulting, Inc., and she recently assumed leadership of the 30-year-old nonprofit organization City Impact, Inc. Cynthia's overarching mission for both New Dawn and City Impact is to diversify their funding sources and, as a result, creating a stable and distinctive operational model where the nonprofit ethos of benevolence guides every decision. Wow, we have so much to talk about here today. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you so much for having me. It's amazing to be able to be here and share a little bit more about what I'm doing and the story behind it.
Absolutely. It is a pleasure to have you here. But before we delve into the aspects of your professional life, if you could describe your journey in one word to this point, what would that word be?
Resourcefulness is definitely the word that I would go into. It takes a lot of creativity when you face obstacles, and it's always looking at there is an abundance of resources and tapping onto those resources to be able to get to where you want to be.
We're going to get into that because I think we want to have some discussion about how did you tap into those resources. But before we go into that, when you reflect back on your journey, what are some personal milestones or experiences that brought you to this point in your life?
Definitely me moving to the United States when I was 25. So that was 25 years ago. And I feel that the environment here really allows for you to tap into the different opportunities. And so, me being Colombian, there is a culture of being resourceful there because of the lack of basic resources and covering the basic needs. And so I think that with the creativity and the hard work put all together with big dreams, definitely that was a decisive moment in which I could see that things were possible and I was going to be able to do much more. So I would say that. And also, 8 years ago, when I started my own business with New Dawn, it was an amazing, decisive moment. I went from 0 to 22 employees in less than 2 months. And there was a huge learning path at that place, but it really made me see the opportunities of really enhancing the contributions that I could make to the world from a place of what are my strengths and what is it that I could really give to people. Now, going back to City Impact is about the same. It's about enhancing the opportunities of contributing and creating more of an impact in the world.
I love how you're creating that duality and bringing those two organizations together to streamline your vision. That is so important because I think a lot of times when entrepreneurs are out there and they want to do something, they may not have had that clear vision enough to say, I'm going to align this just so one works with the other in combination so they can support one another. Where did you learn that? Where did that light bulb go off and say, aha, this is how this is going to work? Tell me more.
Well, I think that again, it goes back to resourcefulness and really trying to maximize what is at hand. Every for-profit business wants to reduce the bottom line of administrative expenses. In general, nonprofits are struggling on how to maximize their resources, but you are able to create a lot of efficiency and effectiveness if you are able to reduce your administrative staff and really focus on direct service providers in my industry. And so that's where I felt that that would be the best combination of bringing a hybrid model in which we are going to be able to maximize those resources. So what I learned in the for-profit world is that you have to become nimble and really efficient, have very clear objectives and a path to get there. And we have created at New Dawn some process and some systems of support that would allow us to get there. I have an amazing team that is self-managed at this point, and they are self-resourced, making great decisions for the team as a whole. We work together, trying to have more of an equal power and just making sure that we are showing our values to our clients and being there for them. And what I found the beauty of the nonprofit world is that people are so passionate and aligned with the mission, and they would do anything it requires from you to be able to get to that mission. And so bringing those two worlds together, one with the compassion and the benevolence, and then the other one with efficiency and effectiveness of a for-profit business, putting them together is just like creates magic. And I think I'm just starting to tap into that beautiful magic right now. So it's a great experience.
Well, I love that explanation because when you were talking about it, I thought magic. This is magic. So when you said the word, I'm like, yes, 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 I'm in alignment. So I really appreciate how you bring in, and it could be your training, it could be innate, and you can tell me more, but I like how you bring the emotional agility and the process of systems and of support together. And I think that a lot of companies tend to forget about that emotional agility part, which emotions tend to drive a lot of what we do. And I'm not saying negative emotions, I'm saying all emotions in general. And what's nice is your background. So you have training as a licensed MFT. You have this very systematic approach to things, and you're also bringing in that emotional component. Where do you think you learned that?
I think that is both learn and it comes with you. I am the youngest of four girls. My parents are entrepreneurs, and yet I am a little bit different than the rest of my siblings. My parents definitely taught us about hard work and dedication, and yet that more creative aspect of things, I think that is something that has characterized me. And so I wanted to be an arts major, and my parents were like, no way, in Colombia, you would not survive with an arts major. And so then I decided for psychology, and I had been able to bring a lot of creativity into the business because that's just who I am. And I am going to tap a little bit into something that I learned not too long ago, about 4 years ago. I came across compassionate communication. It is something that Dr. Marshall Rosenberg started here in the United States a long time ago, comes from the humanistic perspective, but not applying it necessarily to my patients or clients, but really bringing it as a model of communication with the staff and being able to resolve conflicts from that perspective. So that emotional agility to be able to understand where am I emotionally, have self-compassion, and then be able to hear the other person and their situation and have compassion for them. That really has increased my capacity to be able to manage all the emotions and the ups and downs that go with owning a business and managing and leading people and going through all this journey. So I would highly recommend anybody to get into that compassionate communication and tap into their own personal resources, create that capacity, and be able to really hold it for yourself and for everybody else that you come in contact with.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That emotional agility part, that self-compassion is so critical every step of the way along your personal and professional journey. It really enhances your performance and also the compassion you have for oneself and others. And I think that's just so important and so valuable of a lesson. Sometimes we really forget that component, and it really is one of the most foundational components that we can work on. So, thank you for describing where that came from and how you've really nurtured that and cultivated that in your life and throughout what you do. So, let me ask you, did you have mentorship or mentors that helped support you while you were curating your passion, your purpose, and impact that you wanted to have in community?
Definitely. I don't think that nobody could do it alone. And so I really want to recognize the people that had mentored me and supported me. And so amongst them is the person that introduced me to nonviolent communication. Her name is Claudia Roker, and she has a business in Santa Barbara. We're very close. That was kind of the seed that was planted. And she also helped with all the business and systems of support that we have created. The other person that I would mention here is Joey Sumaya. He is now working with me as a consultant, but his sense of humbleness and how he makes everything so simple when he's talking, and yet he's highly committed with many boards across United States, and he takes the time to be so compassionate and so present in any meeting that I have with him. So some things that I admire and definitely want to do more in my life. I could name a few other people that have been like amazing in my journey. I would have to say Dr. Claudio Salame. He's also a doctor from Chile, a psychologist, and he's also a deacon. And so he combines the perspective of spirituality with psychology. And to me, thinking about a holistic, integrated way of looking at the person is definitely something that I hold a lot of passion for, and I feel that we are doing a disservice by only focusing in one only aspect when we are looking at mental health, and it's really bringing the holistic approach to see what else in these individuals' life is going to be able to contribute for them to make the changes and have the systems of support that would allow them to continue creating balance in their life. As I said, I could continue talking about all the people that have influenced me because there is a lot of them, but those are the people that come to mind right now.
Well, thank you so much because I think that part of our journey is being able to know when to ask for help, when to find support. And I think a lot of people are out there doing things on their own and sometimes feeling like they're an island, and you don't have to be. I know that as I progressed throughout even my professional history, those mentors, being a mentee, being a mentor to others has been so valuable. And I absolutely agree. When you're looking at the perspective of mental health, it's really from a holistic perspective. As a practitioner, you know that Alfred Adler was the father of modern psychology. And he brought in the humanistic and holistic approach into the idea and fold of psychology, where he deviated from Freud and said, not everything is psychosexual. There's more to it. The human being is made up and comprises so many different things. And so I see you bringing that into the fold of what you're doing. So tell us more about New Dawn Counseling and Consulting, as well as City Impact.
I am so happy that I could share about New Dawn and all the wonderful things that are happening here. As I mentioned, I have an amazing self-managed team. We had been creating this for about 4 years, where the culture and our values are really what's driving every decision that we make. I have a leadership team that is composed of three other individuals, and is always looking at a 360 empathy, 360 perspective to make every decision that we are making as a business. It has been a challenging year because we work with the county and some of the challenges that had happened with the contracting and such. And yet, we are one of the CBOs that are fully staffed, and 85% of our staff is bilingual, bicultural. And so we really had created a niche to support families, Latinx families that are going through mental health challenges at this point. And so I feel so proud of what we have accomplished. And yet, because it's a county program, I saw that there was really not opportunity to grow within New Dawn, and moving to City Impact and being able to really expand the possibilities of contributing in the community seemed like the right choice to make. And I have full support from the leadership from New Dawn. So at City Impact, we are also providing counseling services, and we are really trying to transform the lives of youth in the community with case managers being able to prevent gang involvement, and also through counseling services. I had been part of CIA for about 15 years, so now I'm just the executive director. And I have seen the wonderful work that has been done in the community by them, and I want to be able to bring it back to its best times and really touching the lives of kids that otherwise would not be reached through any other programs, and being able to provide that support and that path for resiliency and for getting in touch with resources and being able to move forward with their own personal goals. So I just see that it's a seamless transition. And as I mentioned prior, it's kind of the magic of being able to bring those two worlds together, and just so excited about the future opportunities.
I love how you're bringing New Dawn Counseling and Consulting together with City Impact. Years ago, when I started a nonprofit, we were in those neighborhoods. We were in those neighborhoods really bringing the community to the table and talking to kids and their parents and their caregivers about how to reduce recidivism, how to get these kids away from the gangs, how to break the cycles. Knowing that there is another entity out there doing that work and also bringing in the bilingual people is so valuable, so important. So thank you for the work that you're doing. I'm going to do a bit of a shift here. Can you tell us more about how you're trying to diversify your company and nonprofit funding sources to create stability and a distinctive operational model for these two entities? I know you touched on it a little bit. Can you touch on it and elaborate a bit more?
It's going to be trying to create a self-managed team also at City Impact. And again, the team that has been working there, they are so hard workers. You talk about any of them in the community, they are so well known because they have a huge heart and they continue doing great work in the community. And so it's being able to create more of a self-managed team, with also introducing a lot of systems that are going to be able to help grow a lot faster than we had been able to do it. So, in terms of fundraising and diversifying, you know that there are a lot of needs in our community right now. One of the biggest challenges that we are facing right now is also even homelessness. And how is it that we are going to be able to support that community, either to prevent them to become homeless, or once they had become homeless, what kind of support are we going to provide for them so they could come out of homelessness? And actually, again, with the holistic integrative approach that we're talking about, is yes, we're talking about mental health, but one of the other components that we always touch on is definitely environment, and how the environment could be enhanced. And from that perspective, financial literacy is one of the places where we tap into. We are working with people under the poverty line, and we want to be able to give them the tools and the path in which we could create social mobility. Yeah, we could continue providing services to the same population over and over. Yet, my goal really is to create some social mobility through the programs and the implementation of the programs that we have. I have a really ambitious idea, and it seems that it is more real than I could imagine, is being able to have tiny homes for single parents, and with that being able to create a community of support with wellness resources that come into play to be able to uplift the families and communities and really give them some other options and opportunities. I had been a single mom for many, many years, and I know how lonely it is and how challenging it is to be able to create community, because I was busy working the whole time trying to just cover basic needs for my kids. Just just being able to create something like that with a lens of nonviolent or compassionate communication, so we could really allow them to create those connections and be able to solve problems when they're having challenges in the community. And I just see that there are so many opportunities to be able to grow and heal in community. That is the ultimate goal that I have in the next 10 years. And the reason why I say that is more real than not is I found another agency that is doing basically the same work with foster youth that are at risk of homelessness. And so they are starting that project here in Ojai, California. So I'm so excited to be able to be supportive of them, and also kind of they are the trailblazers and I'm just going to follow because that's really where I would like to be.
Well, you have a lot going on, but what I absolutely appreciate is that your vision, your values run through everything that you do. It is consistent. You've got people that are jumping on board because they also believe in those same values. You're looking at things from a very holistic way, how you're diversifying through fundraising, maybe even grant funding. Great ways to diversify those companies and bring the nonprofit and the corporation together for that sustainability, which is so important. It is vital, especially when you have a nonprofit and a business where you want to enhance those resources for both ends. Bringing those two together is phenomenal. I love it. And then working on issues to raise awareness and do something about the unhoused. That is so important, as well as those tiny houses for single moms. I absolutely love that idea. I was raised by a single mom. Yes, she had her friends, but boy, would she have felt the support if she were around other single moms where they were exchanging ideas, exchanging resources, helping each other out. What a phenomenal idea. Well, we talked about so much today, Cynthia. I love what you're doing, how you're doing it, and how you're also, with that single mom program, you're following another program, because it's not always that we have to reinvent the wheel. We can use that model and maybe enhance it in a way that we can use it for a different program. So kudos to you. Brava. I love it. As we come to the close of the interview, my last question is, if you were to give the listeners one tip about how to raise their voices and take control of their destinies, what would that be?
We actually just touched on it prior, and it's really going back to self-compassion. I was raised in a culture that there is a lot of guilt and shame when we make mistakes or we do something. And just tapping back into that self-compassion that we were just doing the best we could given the circumstances, and really is kind of that forgiveness to yourself and forgiving others for what they did that we didn't like. But that was the best strategy that they had at that point. And I think that that has been the piece that has transformed my life and has really allowed me to focus on I have a huge need for contribution, and being able to really enhance that and move forward with raising my voice, being able to promote, doing fundraising, something that I never thought I was going to do, being able to speak up to all the women that want to have their own business and say, you could do this. And it all comes from I have made a lot of mistakes, but I also have a lot of self-compassion, and that allows me to move forward.
I love that. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for joining me on the Core Women podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me, and really congratulations on all the accomplishments with more than 300 episodes and all the work that you are doing, bringing the voices of all the other women and of all the good work that is happening in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. You can follow Cynthia Torres on LinkedIn, cityimpact.com, and at www.newdawncnc.com.
Thank you for joining us on the Core Women podcast with Dr. Summer Watson. We're so glad you're here and would love to connect more with you. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Core Women, and on Twitter at Core Women 1. For more about Core Women and Dr. Watson, visit corewomen.com. Want more support and resources for amazing women like you? Great! Join Dr. Watson and Jen Fontanilla at the Life, Love, and Money Collective, a core women production that aids in understanding the key traits that might be getting in the way of living a life that you are absolutely passionate about. Connect with Summer and Jen and find out more at thelifeloveandmoney.com.